This is the all-new 2026 Volkswagen T-Roc. The T-Roc has been one of their best sellers since it launched in 2017, and despite a mild refresh in 2021, it was starting to look a little bit old-fashioned, and that's when this new model comes in. It's all new, it's slightly larger for increased rear cargo and legroom, and also has a new set of powertrains. So all of them are mild hybrid now, which helps around town in traffic to feel smooth, and also some full hybrids are coming later this year. So has this done enough to warrant your spend in 2026, or should you be looking at some of the rivals? That's what I'm here to find out. So join me as we go on a full tour of the new T-Roc, and I'll take it out on the road and see what I think. But before we do that, if you're looking to purchase or sell a used car, please check out my links in the description below. CarWow will make it super easy to sell any car. All you got to do is punch your reg in and dealers will bid on your car and collect from your home address. Nice and simple. And if you're looking for a new car, then please look at Players Cars Premium. We can make things super easy for you with free home delivery, low APR finance, and we can communicate 24/7 via WhatsApp. Nice and easy. So what are you waiting for? If you're looking to buy or sell, links are below. So let's quickly talk specs and pricing. So the starting price here in the UK at the moment is just over £31,500 for the entry-level Life trim. That one comes with the 12.9-inch infotainment screen as standard, so that is standard across the range, the digital driver display, adaptive cruise, LED headlights, and also DSG automatic gearbox is standard across the range also. The mid-range style is around £35,000, and that one adds ambient lighting, upgraded headlights, privacy glass, and larger alloy wheels. The R-Line trim that I have here starts from just over £38,000, and this one adds the sport body kit, sport seats, and also the more powerful engine as standard, and also just some more sporty styling all round. I think this one is the one that really looks the part, especially the front grille. Unfortunately, VW is still going with lots of option packs. So for example, this particular car is fitted with the IQ LED matrix headlight system, also adaptive suspension, DCC, larger alloy wheels. There is also the option for premium sound system, heated seats, leather upholstery, and a pan roof. Improvements on the last version, definitely the larger infotainment system with the latest Volkswagen UI and processor, much improved cabin materials, and a larger digital cockpit display. It's also ever so slightly longer and larger, so it means 3 centimeters of extra legroom in the back and some increased cargo space. It is, however, obviously quite expensive for its size. There's no plug-in hybrid, and the full hybrid models haven't yet arrived in the UK. They are coming later. But this will feel more premium compared to some rivals such as the Qashqai, Puma, and CHR, etc. So all models now equipped with a 1.5 litre ETSI, which is a mild hybrid. So it's very similar, in fact, to something like a Ford Puma. So you get that kind of electric shove around town a little bit. The entry-level car is about 115 horsepower, and this one that I've got here is about 150, and I would recommend the higher model if you can. Later this year or early next year, they will introduce for the first time on T-Roc and Golf the full hybrid, which is like your self-charging, quote unquote, which is 140 or 170 horsepower-ish. Those are going to be probably really good options if you're looking for better fuel efficiency. The T-Roc R is also coming, which will be around 330 horsepower with four-wheel drive. There's no word yet really on how efficient the full hybrids will be, but these mild hybrids aren't too bad. So you're expected to get between sort of 49 and 50 mpg, which I've been achieving more like sort of 35 to 40, but I've been thrashing it quite hard today to test the car out. So obviously your mileage may vary, but very similar to rivals such as the Ford Puma. And I would say with that mild hybrid tech and how dynamic this car feels in terms of its handling, I would say the Ford Puma is probably the closest rival to drive and feel. But it's definitely not as economical as a full hybrid or as smooth to drive. So either wait for those if that's what you're after, or have a look at some of the rivals on the market. So first things first, let's have a little look around the car and look at the styling. Now, I really like this R-Line model. I think it really looks the part. This is a new colour for 2026. It is canary yellow, and it is very yellow. You'll be able to see there's probably some bugs that are attracted to it, which is quite funny. And this one's finished in kind of with the R-Line upgraded alloys, which are blacked out as well. So that makes a difference to the styling. But yeah, this kind of glossy front grille, I think really looks the part. And this also has the IQ lighting system. As I mentioned, you can see that emblem just in there. And that definitely makes a difference because it means that you've got the front light bar and also the illuminated front and rear Volkswagen logos, much like on the ID electric cars, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is a much better design than the previous model. It's in line with their more modern cars. I think looks a little bit more agile, a little bit more handsome, and definitely kind of looks a little bit more like some of their other cars like the Formentor and the Lamborghini Urus, if you really want to go that far. But yeah, I do quite like the design, and these wheels I think definitely suit the car as well. So you can see we've got this kind of turbine alloy style. These are the optional larger alloys, and of course that will impact the ride a little bit, but I do love how they look compared to the smaller options. Of course, if you go for one of the lesser trims, it's not going to look quite as sporty. It's going to have a more basic bumper and that kind of thing, but this R-Line one. It definitely makes a difference. And they told me that this sort of crease down the side is a small improvement for aerodynamics, which does help not only fuel efficiency but also refinement in the cabin, and I do believe it based on my initial testing. And as we head round to the back, there has been some changes and refinements here as well. You can see that we've got that light bar that runs along the back, which does make a difference, and then you get the illuminated badge as well. T-Roc emblem in black on this R design model, so you can see that that's what it looks like with the rear light bar illuminated, and you can also see the illuminated rear badge as well, which stays on, which is new for the combustion engine cars with Volkswagen. And then at the back of the car here, it's kind of a bit more squared off, a little bit more robust looking. Kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the MG stuff and things like that, just the way the light bar kind of tapers into that rear scoop there at the back, and then you've got a bit of a spoiler area, and up the top some kind of fins and ridges on the top there. Just makes it look a little bit more like a proper 4x4 crossover type thing. But yeah, of course these ones are all front wheel drive, apart from the 4Motion that will be coming later on the R model. But yeah, front wheel drive, don't let that put you off. This actually does handle quite well, and it does definitely put the power down pretty well compared to some of the rivals as well. So let's take a little look inside, shall we? So heading inside the T-Roc, nice and easy, touch sensor on the back to unlock, and then as we head in, a nice solid feeling door. You can see on the side here we do have some new materials and stuff, so we've got some ambient lighting that runs through this little pattern on the door, and this is like a kind of leatherette material, and up the top it is squishy at the front here as well, so this is no longer a scratchy horrible plastic like in the previous one. This is actually now kind of another leatherette material, but a bit more hard wearing. And then as we head down the door, you've got your typical switches and stuff, so your Volkswagen Audi Group switchgear you're very familiar with from very previous cars, but lock and unlock switch here, and this is actually your door handle. Bit bizarre. I don't mind it, but you can actually get your fingers trapped in there a little bit if you're not careful. But yeah, it's a pretty cool design, and it feels very reliable and durable, which is good. And then you've also got storage in the door for a bottle, which is always good as well. And then on this one we've got the R door sill, and you can see we've got electric lumbar adjustment. So this one has the standard R-Line seat, so this isn't the leather option, but you can see it's got this kind of nice textured pattern to it, quite plush, and they also have some decent side bolstering as well, so nice and supportive with the little R emblem embossed there as well. So yeah, pretty decent quality overall, and it is quite a familiar layout for people who have been in Volkswagen Audi Group cars in the last sort of 10 years or so, but it has been refined and updated, and there's lots of nice little features in here, and there's also some Easter eggs as well. One I'll actually show you while I'm outside of the car. On the rear window there's a tiny little, you probably can't see it properly in this light actually, because it's too bright, but I'll put a clip of it. There's a little picture of a T-Roc back there. So let's step inside, and I'm going to put the car on and get the AC on because it's a very hot day today. So the engine start stop button is down here, foot on the brake, press that, the car will spring to life, and you'll be able to see this infotainment screen. This is standard across the range, as is this, so that's nice that they are both included. And also, as you'll see, the newer style Volkswagen wheel, which I'm a big fan of. It's got quite hefty bolsters on it, and it's also kind of squared off in the corners here. Feels almost like a BMW wheel. It's got that kind of heft and kind of chunkiness to it, which I do quite like. The newer style thin Volkswagen emblem in the middle here, which looks good, and also physical controls, yippee, for your media stuff here, all of your ADAS and your cruise control. And then on this side you've got some controls for this screen. You've also got a heated steering wheel button, and also your track skip here, which I appreciate being on this side. So you can actually use this to cycle through some of the screens, so it's quite comprehensive, the amount of stuff that you can do. You can just control it using these buttons here, and you can see on here there's loads of different stuff you can display, and you can also change view as well, so you can go for like a full maps view if you want. You can also go for, so there's the map view. You've also got like a more full screen map view. This is your like sport view, and again you can go to each side and you can choose exactly what to display. So yeah, lots and lots of different options to mess around with and customize it exactly to your liking. So yeah, you could spend a while doing that. I kind of prefer the older systems. Also, I think the Cupra one looks a bit nicer, just the kind of the UI and the fonts that they use, and Skoda as well, to be fair. I think the Skoda infotainment is just slightly nicer in design than this one, but this is the latest infotainment from Volkswagen, and it is very responsive. It's got everything you might need on there. So for example, it shows your vehicle status and any driving data that you might need. It's also easy to change certain assist features from here. There's also on here some shortcuts and that kind of thing. So if you go onto this button here, this shows all of your speed warnings. You can literally just turn it off from here, so that's a nice toggle to have. Climate controls at the bottom, shortcuts, and they are still the touch sliders, but they are illuminated, so it is a little bit easier to use now. Normally I set and forget, so I'm not that fussed fussed about not having physical climate controls. But yeah, it's a fairly straightforward system to use and very responsive. Screen's got good contrast. Overall, it's just nice. It's not the best in the business, I don't think, but it is good. And obviously you're going to use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that good stuff for the most part. So I can literally click on that up here. It goes straight to my phone, which is nice and easy, and you can get back to the standard system really easily as well at the touch of a button. So it's a fairly comprehensive system, and it works pretty well. You've also got a ChatGPT integrated IDA, which is your like assistant on here, which works pretty well as well. So this little display down here, this means that you can control your volume, or if you press it down, it will do the 2 different drive modes, so comfort and sport on this one. And then you've just got your parking brake built in there as well. So it's nice that there is still a physical control for that. And there is also physical controls that are the more modern ones for your indicators. So these are quite big, chunky, hefty stalks, and they feel quite comprehensive. And then on this side, you have your gear select. So it's push in to park, rotate forward for drive, backwards for reverse, and this launches your reverse cam. So on this high-end model, you do have top-down 360 cam. Again, it's not the best in the business. It's not quite the best clarity, but I do appreciate the top-down cam because that makes parking really easily and stuff like that. And there is park assist as well. But again, it's just a shame that not everything is standard across the range. This steering wheel also does have gear shift paddles, which are plastic and small, but it's nice that they're there, and they do have little grips on the back as well. This particular car is also fitted with the head-up display, which is fairly decent. It shows you traffic sign recognition and speed and that kind of thing. And overall, the cabin quality is definitely improved. So you can see we've got this kind of like fabric material up here, which is squishy and nice, and this really lifts the cabin. I know it's not much, but the fact that this is across the top of the dash and you can really see it as you're going along, it just adds a little bit more refinement to this cabin, and I think helps isolate the noise in here a little bit better and just makes it feel a bit more of a premium quality. I do think the Skoda variants with like the lounge interiors and some of the rivals from the Chinese brands do look more plush than this, but this is more focused on the chassis and the driving dynamics. Over here you do have a decent sized glove box. It's not a half size one like some other cars, which is good. Basic vent controls, nothing too crazy. And then down here, wireless charging. What is cool here is these have been designed like swim lanes, so you can see there's little men in there swimming up and down the different lanes. The downside of this wireless charger is that your phone does slide around in there a bit, and if you've got a smaller phone, I've got an iPhone 17 Pro, and as I put that down in here, it does kind of slide around a bit and stop charging sometimes. So you can see, just for size reference, a larger phone would definitely sit a little bit better in there, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. You've got 2 USB-Cs there, but no storage underneath. However, this does have a nice bit of contrast stitching running along it, and it's nice that this is quite a simple layout. You've also got adjustable cup holders down here in this large center storage unit, which is just covered up by this adjustable armrest, so you can slide that forward and slide it up to a position of your choosing, which means that you can get nice and comfy while driving. And there is also on here as well a few different slots. There's a slot for like a debit card, and there's coin slots there, so you can put like a pound coin or a trolley coin in there. So that's a nice little touch, but it's not quite got the same level of quirks as something like a Skoda would. Also, thankfully, the light controls down here are now also a physical button rather than that touch nonsense that was there before. I'm really glad that Volkswagen has listened to that feedback. The stereo in here is pretty good as well, and then up the top we've just got some touch controls for your lights, and you've also got the rear view mirror, which there is a decent view out the back, but you can see large C-pillar. Thankfully the camera obviously helps with that, and then we just have your basic illumination and reading light up here. But yeah, I do think it's quite a good and comprehensive overhaul of the interior. I think the new dash materials help a lot in terms of how it looks. I also think that it just feels nicer quality in here, and the refinements they've made to this display have made a big difference for sure. I know it's quite bright in here at the moment, so it's quite difficult to tell, but it can get a bit dark of an evening just because of how dark this R-Line headliner is and stuff, but that's obviously exclusive to the sportier models. Things are quite similar back in the rear of the T-Roc as well, so not quite so many nice materials back here. You still get a little bit of squidgy kind of leatherette on the door card, but it's scratchy plastic up top, and again this door release like that, and also your window switch. And then in the back area here you can see we have pretty much the same materials. So there is a massive transmission hump, unfortunately, so middle seat passengers are not going to be very happy or comfy. You can see the size of that there. It's not very practical for that middle passenger, but being a normal combustion engine car, I didn't expect anything different really. You've got USB-C charging down there. You've also got your rear climate and a very basic pocket in the back of the seat. No crazy rear functions back here. However, you can see the quality of everything is pretty much the same. You've got this nice suede in this the R-Line model, and then you also have the pop covers for the Isofix, which is nice. So it means that you don't damage the leather. It also means that they can't be lost because they're just attached in there. So that's a nice addition. It just means that when you go to sell the car, it's still going to be all intact, and also it's going to be quite nice and easy to use when putting a car seat in there. In the middle, you've also got a split, so you can actually fold this down if you want to, but there is also a fold down armrest, which is nice and solid, no rattling around. It's very, very solid in place, and you've got a few cup holders in there as well, so that makes it nicer for those rear passengers. But yeah, overall, definitely a little bit more space in the previous generation. I'll jump in and show you. So then, stepping into the back of the T-Roc, and this is where things have changed quite a bit. Now, with my driving position at 6 foot, and I do have quite long legs as well, it's actually not too bad back here. I don't have the best thigh support, but the seat does rake up quite a bit, which does help. And if I was to kind of lean my legs outwards, I can actually get a really comfortable position back here. Headroom is also plentiful for me as well, and I don't really have any issues at all with comfort. I can obviously put this down, and I've got place for both of my arms, and I've got just about enough legroom even with this in my driving position. Obviously you can see on this side it's even better, so even though it's only 3 centimeters difference, it really has actually made a big deal back here. Unfortunately, obviously, this massive transmission hump means that sitting in the middle for me would be not a very nice task at all. I'm obviously intruding massively on the legroom of the other people, so you're not going to fit 3 adults back here at all, really, to be honest. I think it would be a real push, but of course you could always fit a kiddie seat and then have another little one back here or something like that, but it's not going to be great for 3 rear passengers. This middle seat really is for emergency use only. But that being said, the 2 passengers back here will be very happy with the level of comfort. It's a big improvement over the previous model. In terms of your cargo area, you do have power tailgate on this particular model, and once you're inside, you'll notice that the load cover is also super easy to remove. It's just your standard little hooks, and then you just go bang, and out the parcel shelf comes. So nice and easy. And you could stow this under there if you're absolutely necessary, but it is obviously more ideal to just take this out of the vehicle if you can. So with that parcel shelf removed, you can see that actually the load lip is very minimal. Getting stuff in and out of here is really good, and there is a large well in here as well for a spare wheel, or obviously some extra storage. It's basically like a false floor, which is always a good touch. And you can also see there's a little bit of storage in each corner for the kind of emergency kit and that kind of thing. And then we have some power back here as well as a light and some tie hooks. So this center section does go down independently if you want to split it. So it is a 40-20-40 split, which is always nice. There's also a shopping hook on this side here. Nothing too crazy in terms of features, but it is practical as a area. So I can lean in, put these down. So this will lock as a 60-40 split if these are locked together. So I'm going to just do that, put that down, and then I'm going to go over here, put this one down. That's quite easy to just chuck those down, and you can see that straight away it creates a fairly flat load floor, so nice and easy to load things in and out of. And this is a larger cargo area than the previous generation car as well. So if I head into the back, you can see it has created an area that is nice and flat. There's a tiny little gap there, so you might be wary of smaller items falling down underneath the false floor. There's no kind of extra carpet lip or anything like that. But what is nice is that these seat belts are on runners, as you can see here, so it means that they don't snag when you put the seat back up. So you can just do that as a one-handed operation, nice and easy if you want to, which is a really nice touch. So yeah, fairly practical space, and also larger than the previous generation by not much, but you can definitely tell the difference. Oh, there is also kick to open function. That's there, and it does work normally. So lots of improvements then. Let's get this out on the road and I'll show you what it's like to drive. So out and about in the new T-Roc, and the first thing I will tell you is that this is definitely better than the previous generation in terms of its kind of handling dynamics, the feel that you get through this wheel, and also just in general the refinement in here. Things just feel a little bit more solid, but a smoother suspension setup. It just feels more refined overall, and I can tell that the slight aerodynamic improvements and the improvements to materials and things like that have made a difference when it comes to how isolated you feel in the cabin here in terms of the sound and that kind of thing. There's just less sound and vibration overall. I think the extra quality of the interior definitely helps with that as well, because the previous car was starting to feel a little bit dated and just a little bit cheap here and there, but the materials in here obviously being better help with the overall feel. It's a very peppy and responsive little engine, as you're probably used to in some of the previous Volkswagen Audi Group stuff as well. It can feel quite strained under load if you really floor it, but in general, it's pretty responsive and pretty good. And when it comes to braking as well, I've got a decent amount of pedal feel underfoot. It's not terrible at all. Sometimes you expect it to feel a little bit spongy, but this obviously being a normal combustion engine car, you don't get any of that kind of electric feel below that pedal. And then kicking down, fairly immediate. It's not got tons and tons of grunt, but it's fairly responsive enough for your day-to-day driving. And of course, when those hybrid models come a bit later on, they are going to be even more responsive and probably have more of an electric feel around town. What I am impressed with on this platform is how it feels like it can dart around. The steering input is pretty immediate, and I do feel more texture through the wheel than in previous Volkswagen Audi Group cars, which is nice. It just feels pretty well put together, this chassis, and you can tell they've put a lot of effort into that. Cruising along here, the suspension does a decent job of soaking up little imperfections in the road, and this one obviously being on the larger alloys doesn't help with that, so if you've got the smaller ones it would be an even nicer ride. But for your day-to-day, I think it's quite good. It's a nice balance of a bit sporty but also just nice and comfortable for your day-to-day driving. This driving position is a little bit awkward for me with my long gangly legs. I can kind of get my elbows comfy and lean right back, but I do find that my legs are a little bit uncomfortable. I've not got enough thigh support unless I move my seat a bit further back, which would compromise rear leg room. But that's just a me problem, I think. It's not really too bad. And obviously I've got loads of headroom, as I mentioned. So yeah, unless you're kind of really tall, it's not going to be too much of an issue for you. I'm going to put the car in its sportiest setting, and then I'm just going to send it around this roundabout. For a front wheel drive car, it really pulls you in nicely, and it does grip. It grips really well. I don't feel like it's going to start understeering on me. I'm going to quickly whisk it away into this. There we go. Yeah, nice. I didn't feel too much weight transfer there. It wasn't too much of an issue. So I think they've really done well with the handling and the chassis on this car. It's definitely got a sportier feel than you might expect from a crossover of this size. And it definitely feels a lot less hazardous when you start throwing it around than some of the cheaper alternatives. This is the thing, you might look at some of the cheaper rivals from like Chery, JQ and other brands like that are coming in now, Geely, but they are going to definitely not quite provide the same level of handling and dynamics. They might have more kit and they might look a little bit more special inside, but in terms of the actual driving capability, this is going to trounce them completely. It's quite nice around town as well. It does have your sort of traditional start-stop, but when you're coming to a complete stop, the brakes are smooth. There's no judder, there's no creak in traffic. It feels really smooth and responsive. When you let off the brake, there's enough kind of, it pulls nicely, that gearbox. The DSG gearbox is exactly what you would expect. It's very, very responsive when you want it to be, but also smooth. They're a lot smoother than they were when they were first introduced on Volkswagen Audi Group cars. So it's not really a nightmare around town like some of the early cars used to be. If you're coming from like an original T-Roc, for example, you'll find that this feels a lot smoother when you're off the line and in traffic and things like that. But at the same time, if I want to take manual control of that gearbox, it's very responsive. It's not lightning fast, and it's not that drone. You're not gonna win any awards for sound, but at the end of the day, I'm pushing this car hard, and that's not what it was designed to do. It's peppy enough for your day-to-day. The only thing that I would say is that obviously a lot of rivals now are introducing full hybrid options, and this is as well eventually, and that's also coming to the Golf, which is nice. But obviously this standard petrol one does suffer a bit in terms of fuel economy in comparison to some key rivals now that are full hybrid or plug-in and so on. There's no plug-in option available on this at all. I'm super impressed with how kind of flat and fun this feels for this kind of class of car. It feels smaller than it is. It feels quite similar to a Golf in a way, which is a big compliment. And you know what as well, that fills me with confidence for the R model. So they are bringing the 2-litre turbo version with 333 horsepower, and I reckon with these chassis refinements, and also they will probably pump up the suspension and brakes on that model as well, I think it's going to be a good laugh. And look, if you're concerned about, you know, the entry-level cars not being fast enough, as long as you're not doing a lot of B-road bashing, you'll be absolutely fine. The only time it will struggle ever so slightly is a motorway overtake, but because it's a turbocharged engine and that turbo is quite responsive, you're not really going to notice too much lag either. So I'm sitting at sort of 60 mile an hour at the moment. If I literally just put my foot to the floor, it's kicked down and there's 70. It's not that bad at all. It does make a bit of a fuss about it, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to feel slow like some other cars. I've not really gone too in depth on the rivals in this video because there are just a plethora of them. Obviously this is a very saturated segment, but what I will tell you is that this car is an improvement on the previous generation, and quite a big one as well, not only in the interior quality but also just kind of the quality of life features, the physical buttons, just the extra space in here does definitely make a difference, and the driving dynamics have impressed me more so than I expected to. I kind of expect these cars to feel a little bit bland, but yeah, for a Volkswagen Audi Group car as well, which are generally fairly numb in terms of their handling, this one provides a little bit more feedback than I expected, and not only that, but it just feels quite nice to potter around in traffic. Those gear shifts are silky smooth as well when you're just doing normal driving, so you probably won't even notice them, which is a really big plus. They've really refined the DSG over the years. Let's go for another little roundabout play here. Starts to understeer in very extreme situations, but it feels super controlled. I can feel everything through the wheel, and yeah, you wouldn't ever lose confidence in it. There are some cars in the cheaper spectrum that I just feel sloppy in comparison. In terms of your ADAS stuff as well, it's not too intrusive. Obviously you've got your beeps and bongs, but there are shortcuts to turn it off, which is always a plus. And yeah, obviously when you go over the lines as well, it will tug you back in, but it generally feels a lot less intrusive than the older Volkswagen Audi Group stuff. When it kind of first got introduced, I found that it would be constantly trying to tug you every which way, but during this drive, I've not felt that it really intervenes too much at all. And it just shows, doesn't it, that Volkswagen are really listening to customer feedback. It's quite good fun, this car. I really wasn't expecting to be as impressed, and obviously the engine is the letdown in this situation. Like, the R is going to be much better in terms of performance, but you don't need an R for day-to-day driving. This is faster than it looks on paper. Yeah, it is a maneuverable little thing as well, to be fair. Like, turning circle is really good. And away we go. It's nice and responsive off the line. I think this car really shows that VW are heading in the right direction, because they're thinking about the hybrid drivetrains finally. They're also really focusing on some affordable electric cars at the moment, and they're making key refinements to their most important models based on customer feedback, and that really shows with this new T-Roc. I really like it. The only downside, I guess, is the price, right? So this one, as specs, being £42,000, that is a lot of money. You can get them from sort of the early 30s, but still, when you consider something like a Cherry Tiggo 4 with kind of top spec is going to be around 30, and the warranty is pretty comprehensive on those as well. So that's just an example out of many rivals, but that's going to have more tech, more equipment, and feel a little bit more luxurious. But where that does fall short, obviously, is the credibility of Volkswagen, and also this sort of driving dynamics, the feel of the car, the way it handles, the way it puts power down out of junctions and that kind of thing. This just trounces those cheaper cars in all those categories. So if you want something that just feels a little bit more solid and has a bit more capability when you're behind the wheel, then this is definitely going to be a little bit better for that. So I guess that's what it boils down to, isn't it, really? It's whether you want a known brand that you know is going to drive really nicely, or whether you want something that's cheaper with kind of the latest gizmos on it. But overall, count me impressed with the T-Roc. I think the price is the only sticking point, but if you can find a good deal on one, then I think it would be a solid option if you're in the market for this segment. It's definitely a massive improvement on the previous model, and I think these will sell really well. And thank you to Volkswagen for inviting me down for the launch of this car. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.